What's going on, guys? JR Sports Media here, back at it again as SmackTalk is here to give you some pre-draft insight and predictions. I'm here with Steve Salmon and Mike DeSantis. What's going on, guys?
What's up? How we doing? Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
So, Mike, for those that don't know you, you're a big Dolphins fan. This is a big draft coming up. Are you looking forward to it?
Yeah, man. Big draft. We got 3 first-round picks. We lead the NFL with 14 total picks, and I'm excited.
Well, I'm here to drop some pre-draft props. I know all the degenerates out there, they're itching to get some action in. Not a lot of people want to do some table tennis. Some people look towards the draft, maybe get that sensation. Well, I have Andrew Thomas coming. I'll get to that in a little bit as a prop, top 5. But Mike, I actually saw a very well-respected NFL analyst earlier this morning. He said that the Dolphins are actually looking to trade up to number 3 to get an offensive tackle. What is your opinion on that? Obviously, you tanked all year, but did you tank for an offensive tackle, Mike?
Yeah, and I'm going to get into that a little more once we do the mock drafts here. But I will say the Dolphins their number one priorities are finding that face of the franchise, that franchise quarterback. And I don't think if they trade up to number 3, number 2 has been discussed with Washington, and even number 4 with the Giants, I don't think that they're going to be going for a tackle. I do think that they're going to be looking tackle with one of their 3 first-round picks, though.
Well, I mean, you guys do have a lot of bait in this year's draft. I believe only in the first round you have pick number 5, but obviously rumored to try to trade up to pick number 3. So in this edition of the SmackTalk podcast, we're going to go over some pre-draft analysts as well as predictions towards the end. So we'll get into towards the draft props after we get through our mock draft. But just to keep you guys in tune, we're only going to go through our first top 10 picks. So you guys are not here for hours on hours. So Steve, obviously, first overall, Cincinnati Bengals. Obviously, everyone and their mother has Joe Burrow going there. Do you have Joe Burrow? And if not, why?
100%. There's no chance I see anyone else but Joe Burrow being the number 1 overall pick. It just wouldn't make sense for Cincinnati to pass up on him. He's going to be a franchise quarterback for them, and they need to replace Andy Dalton. They need something else, something to boost the franchise, because they haven't been good in years.
What about you, Mike? Do you see anyone else besides Joe Burrow going number 1 overall in this virtual draft?
You know what? It's funny because Chase Young's got to be the number 1 player on the draft board, regardless of position. When you take position away, I mean, he's the best player in the draft. But I think as far as needs go, Cincinnati needs that face of the franchise, like I mentioned with Miami. They need that quarterback, Joe Burrow from Ohio. I mean, that's the closest thing we got to a lock in this draft.
Exactly. So I think the number 1 overall pick, obviously, I think it's minus 100,000 that he goes number 1 overall. So obviously Vegas is telling you that he is the number 1 overall pick. But I've actually this year, seeing all the mock drafts, we've seen Fox, ESPN, CBS, everyone has a very different order this year. Everyone has different insight, who they think what's going to happen. There's a lot of trade talk happening. A lot of these people think that, the Cowboys or, the Lions will trade the number 3 pick, but I just don't see it. I don't see, Dave Gettleman in his entire GM career, he's never traded back in the NFL draft. And, a lot of people are saying they're going to trade back. The Giants will trade with the Patriots to get Tua. I just don't see it. So, I mean, obviously we're going to go down to the next 9 picks. It's going to be very different. So you guys just give me your insight of what you think, because obviously everyone has a different opinion in this year's draft. It's really hectic. We have a virtual draft. We're not able to boo Roger Goodell in person anymore.
Did you see the Bud Light? They on their Twitter they posted that the tradition of booing Roger Goodell is not going to go get passed this year, because they're going to have the people post on Twitter #Bud Light Seltzer with the videos of them booing, which I think is hilarious.
Amazing marketing move by Bud Light. They got me. I retweeted it.
Great job, Bud Light. For charity, I like that idea a lot.
So just moving into the next thing, Washington Redskins, another obviously lock of a pick, but not so much of a lock. Obviously, the odds are not as much as Joe Burrow going number 1 overall. For the Washington Redskins, I see, obviously, like you said earlier, I do think Chase Young is one of the best players in this draft, but obviously not the best. I do believe that Joe Burrow is a one-in-a-generation talent. Mike, going to you, I have none other but Young going to Washington. Do you have anyone else going there?
No, I touched upon it, when talking about that Cincy pick of Burrow. I think Chase Young is the best player in this draft. Steve, you can, I don't know if you disagree, but I think Chase Young is the best player in this draft, regardless of position. And listen, the Redskins, if Chase Young is even half of what he did at Ohio State, if he's even half of that in his rookie season in the NFL, he's gonna be a great player. He's gonna be a great rookie, and the sky's the limit for him. Chase Young's the number 2 pick, hands down, if they don't trade back.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. Chase Young, he's a monster. Look how big he is. Look what he did with Ohio State. I agree with you with him being the best player in this draft, but the only reason why he's not going to number 1 is because Cincinnati needs a quarterback. Really in the beginning of the draft, it's for positional needs. Sometimes it's not going to be the best available player. Best available player happens later on in the draft, like towards like the 20th pick. That's when you pick the best player in the draft. But within the top 5 picks, you've got to go for your position, got to help out your team for the future. And Chase Young would be the person for the Redskins.
Yeah, just building off that, obviously next, the Detroit Lions. Everyone's saying that they may actually trade this pick. According to the odds, there's actually no clear favorite as to who the number 3 overall pick is. So obviously there's a lot of mystery there. I don't see personally them going anywhere other than Jeff Okudah, because obviously they just got rid of Darius Slay, their top cornerback. And I think Jeff Okudah out of Ohio State is just another one-generational talent, just like Chase Young. They were able to power that Ohio State team. Obviously, they should have beaten Clemson, but obviously, what happened at the end of the game, slips, interception, game over. But, Steve, feed it back to you. Maybe you have some different insight on the number 3 overall pick. I just don't see the Lions trading this pick because of how good Okudah has been, in college.
Yeah, so when I was doing some research, the only thing that I could see that would happen would be the Dolphins trying to trade up to the number 3 pick to lock in getting Tua, just because the number 4 pick's going to be a lineman guaranteed for the Giants. So the cornerback position, Jeff Occam, however you say that, Okudah, he's going to be available for he's going to be available for them. So the Dolphins, because I think the Patriots are going to probably try to get up there somehow to get a quarterback, but I think the Dolphins are going to have to jump in fast to lock in getting their quarterback so they don't have anything happen and they could get Tua as their franchise quarterback.
What about you, Mike? What do you think? You think Okudah goes to the Lions, or they trade up that pick? I know
So Steve, in your mock draft, for clarity, your number 3 is being traded to Miami, or you got Detroit taking that pick?
Traded to Miami, and they're Miami picking Tua.
Okay, I got the same.
So they're basically going to be swapping picks, and then Miami's going to have to probably give up one of their draft picks, which is not going to be anything hard for them, knowing that they have 14 picks. They have plenty of room to work with that. Right.
And I got the same. So I got Miami and Detroit swapping 3 and the 5. Detroit would then pick 5. I got Miami moving up to 3 for a quarterback. Them and Cincy and LA Chargers, they're the 3 teams that really need quarterbacks at the top of the board. Miami needs that face of the franchise. There's been a lot of speculation for over 2 years now, Miami and Tua. I think it finally happens. And I think that they're going to, like Steve said, I think they're going to need to lock in that quarterback selection, their choice of a quarterback. So they're going to have to trade up 2 slots and give up the second of their second-round picks. They have 3 first-round picks and 2 second-round picks. They have a lot of ammo to work with to trade up and down the board. So, yeah, Tua to Miami at 3. Detroit slides down to 5.
Yeah, so obviously we have all our different opinions on number 3. But number 4, I know you guys are obviously going to disagree with me on here, but I'm just going to give some insight for the people watching out there. I have the New York Giants selecting Andrew Thomas, offensive tackle out of Georgia. Just to give some statistics, he had 1,075 pass block snaps, 37 of those QB pressures, which means that in those 1,075 snaps played by Andrew Thomas, only 3% of those snaps he allowed a pressure on the quarterback with no total sacks allowed. So you get into a guy like Joe Thomas, generational blocks on the offensive line for Cleveland Browns. I see this guy, Andrew Thomas, as being one of those generational guys. And I wrote down the notes for the show maybe 2 days ago. I had Andrew Thomas going to the Giants plus 700, and then I had Andrew Thomas top 5 at plus 850. And actually, since those tweets went out, like I said earlier in the show, Mike, the odds have substantially dropped. It's plus 250 for him to be in the top 5, and I think around plus 475 for him to be drafted by the Giants. So, in my opinion, with the recent news going up, Andrew Thomas can go as high as 3. He can go to the Dolphins to be the cornerstone of that offensive tackle line. And then obviously at number 5, they'll look towards getting a quarterback. But, flip-flopping it, either the Miami Dolphins trade for 3 or the New York Giants obviously select the offensive tackle at 4. I just don't think Andrew Thomas slips out of the top 5. And I just have a really, really good feeling about this. And I know a lot of analysts don't agree with me, but just studying how Andrew Thomas has played at Georgia, it's just a one in a generational talent. Mike, I know obviously you're a Dolphin fan, being from New York. Who do you think that the New York Giants selected the 4th overall pick in this year's draft?
Yeah, so it's interesting. You touched upon kind of Andrew Thomas and kind of a comparison to Joe Thomas. That's going to be interesting later on in our mock here. Because what do they say? Great minds think alike.
Yeah, they got the same last name.
Yeah, but I think me and you were on the same wave there. But for number 4, so I mentioned that I had in my top 10, I had Miami trading up to 3 from 5. And after that, I think the LA Chargers see Miami trade up. They're sitting at 6, and now they're two spots away from their quarterback. I think that they see Miami trade up. The LA Chargers are going to need to trade up a few spots. So the Chargers are going to make a trade with the Giants to go from 6 to 4. The Giants go from 4 to 6. They pick up an extra late 2nd, early 3rd round pick. And the LA Chargers take Justin Herbert, quarterback of Oregon, for the 4th pick. That makes 3 quarterbacks in my top 4 picks. I think
they have Daniel Jones, Mike.
What's up?
No, he's saying that they're trading the Giants are trading to the Chargers.
Yeah, the LA Chargers will trade up from 6, go to 4, and secure their quarterback, like Miami did.
See, people, this is what happens when people have too much time in their hands. They think, oh, the trade. This one's going to trade. How many trades do you have in your mock draft? You have like 5 out of 10 are all trades.
I got 2 trades in my top 10, and they're both moving up for quarterbacks. Face of the franchise is the most important position in the entire NFL.
I mean, everyone loves a trade in the draft. I mean, nothing better than seeing, your team draft, 21. You got the wings, you got the beer. You're like, oh, we got 2 hours left until we draft. And they're like, the Miami Dolphins just fucked around and they got the 2nd pick now. And you're going nuts. So
I know you love to bust my balls, but I have 2 teams moving up 2 slots for their quarterbacks. I think that's pretty consistent and pretty fair.
What about you, Steve? Who do you think New York Giants selected this pick?
I'm thinking Andrew Thomas. I didn't, before going through the draft picks, I didn't know that stat about Andrew Thomas. I was thinking about Jedrick Wills. He's explosive. He's good. He's just as good as a talent, but I didn't know about that fact where he what was the stat again? Like 3% pass pressure?
Yeah, 3% of his total snaps he allowed QB pressures with no sacks recorded since 2017.
Yeah, that's an insane stat. Like, I used to be a lineman in high school, and like, you're going against some big men. Like, as big as he may be, like, he's going up against people that are just as big, and him being able to withhold that and only let that little amount of QB pressure is unreal. And I think that's something where the Giants will have to – they can't pass up on. They have to protect their quarterback, Daniel Jones, because that's like they've had a big problem with their O-lineman in the past. And once they get that O-lineman, they're going to be set. But I like where Mike was going with trading up for Justin Herbert, because I was also putting in perspective that the Patriots might try to do something getting up there, because the Patriots need a quarterback. So I'm thinking the Patriots are going to try to sneak in, probably not from the Giants, not their pick, but I think they might be able to sneak in at number 5 with the Lions now pick, which I had them trading with the Dolphins. So then they get Justin Herbert there right before the Chargers. So that's why I think the Chargers might try to trade up, but I'm going to go with Andrew Thomas at 4 spot.
Nice. Well, we go on obviously to Miami next. Obviously, Mike, you don't believe me when I tell you this, but I was watching ESPN the other day. Someone that's very close to the Miami Dolphin personnel, top execs there, and they say no one there is interested in Tua Tagovailoa. The guy that they've been studying the most actually is Justin Herbert.
Hmm.
So with the 5th overall pick in this year's draft, I actually have Miami going with Justin Herbert to be their front and center, franchise guy for their team. Mike, do you like Justin Herbert? Did you watch any of his games? I was a big fan of him last year. He was actually supposed to go top 5 last year. If you don't remember, the New York Giants were very, very high on this guy. They were willing to select him with any pick or trade up, but obviously they found their guy, Daniel Jones. Would you be disappointed if they drafted Justin Herbert over Tua Tagovailoa?
No, I wouldn't say disappointed. I will say this. I have Herbert in my draft going right behind Tua at 4. And I have Tua going at 3 to Miami. But I will say that I do think, when looking at their college careers, Tua had by far and away a better college career. I think Herbert has shown that he has the skill set to succeed in the NFL. But I think that Tua has actually translated that to the field. Herbert had some good moments towards the end of last season. He was pretty inconsistent early in the season, much like Jordan Love was, which I'm sure we'll get into as well. But I think Herbert, he started to come into his own towards the end of the season. He had an okay bowl game. He had a great Senior Bowl during the pre-draft process that we talked about earlier, Jake. I think Herbert's going to be a good pro. But do I think that he's going to be better than Tua if Tua's healthy? No way, no shot.
What about you, Steve?
The only reason why I would go away from Tua would be because of the injury last year. Other than that, there's no reason why Tua shouldn't be the second quarterback drafted. And Justin Herbert, he is good. I like Herbert a lot, but I would put Tua over Herbert by just a little bit. But they could go either or. If I was a fan of any of these teams, I would be happy with having Herbert or Tua for sure.
Well, just moving on. Obviously, we got the LA Chargers picking at number 6. In my opinion, this is where Tua Tagovailoa goes. Being a Raider fan, I got the Raider stuff everywhere. I could just see my life being threatened by Patrick Mahomes as well as Tua Tagovailoa in the same exact division. I just see it happening. I think that Justin Herbert goes before Tua Tagovailoa, and then obviously the Chargers are based at a predicament where they're saying, wow, we have Tua Tagovailoa in front of us. Do we pass on them? Do we go somewhere else? And the obvious answer is no. Steve, where do you see the LA Chargers picking with this one? I know that you said you have Tua going earlier than this. So just curious as to where you think that they're going to go in this direction in this draft.
Yeah, I definitely see them going with Herbert for sure, without a doubt. If Herbert's not there, or if the Dolphins decide to draft Herbert, then they're definitely going Tua. But they need to draft the quarterback for sure because they're losing Phillip Rivers. And right now, they're having Tyrod Taylor is not going to be their quarterback. He did good in Buffalo back a couple years ago, but I don't see him continuing what he did back then.
Not long-term starter, no.
Yeah, he'll be good for a few games, but I wouldn't say an entire season because in Buffalo you did see him. He had had electric, but he didn't have the consistency throughout the season.
Yeah, sorry, Jake, go ahead.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I think that, the Chargers are going to obviously flip-flop between Justin Herbert and Tua Tagovailoa. Obviously, in Vegas right now, both QBs going to either team or even odds. So, it's a flip-flop. Either Tua goes first or Justin Herbert goes first. So, just interesting to see what happens there. But according to, Mike Pitt over here, there's going to be a bunch of trades and everyone's going to go nuts and Twitter's going to go crazy. So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
I will say this. Thanks for asking, by the way. My 5th pick, I had Detroit going with Okudah, the corner from Ohio State, and then with 6 with this Chargers pick. So you guys think it's Herbert and Tua. So you guys think it's quarterbacks. Remember, in my mock, I had the Chargers trading up to 4 to get Herbert. So this 6th pick would actually be now the Giants' new pick. And I have the Giants taking Jedrick Wells from Alabama, the offensive tackle. You had Andrew Thomas going to the Giants, both of you guys. I have Wells. I think that that he's going to be a great pro. I think Andrew Thomas is great as well. There's 4 tackles that are really good in this draft. Becton from Louisville and Tristan Wirfs from Iowa is also really good. But I think the big tackle from Bama is going to the Giants here at number 6. And also what's interesting real quick is all 4 picks that I mocked here, I actually think that if the Dolphins and Chargers don't trade up, all 4 teams can have their same selections. But I think that the Dolphins and Chargers trade up to guarantee a quarterback.
Some insightful information right there. Many draft analysts, they say Isaiah Simmons, this big guy from Clemson, he's going to the Giants, top 5. But actually, over the past couple of weeks, he's actually slipped out of pre-draft mock projections. And a lot of analysts actually have him dropping out of the top 10. But for me, I see the Carolina Panthers slotting in at number 7, and I believe they'll take Isaiah Simmons. Did you guys get to watch this guy at Clemson? I know he's a true monster on the field. Steve, I know you're a big college football fan. Did you get to watch this guy's freakish athletic ability?
Yeah, I have. I think I agree with that pick, with the Panthers picking him. He's so fast for the position that he plays at linebacker. Like, he could almost play any position on defense. He could probably go down to D-line. He could probably even be a corner. He has the size for that, and I think he has the speed. He's very diversified, and I feel like he's going to be a good pro, good fit for Carolina, especially after them losing Luke Kuechly this year. So they're going to need to step up with their defense. They don't have their heart and soul of their defense anymore, so they need to find that guy again.
What about you, Mike?
I think we're all in agreement here. I think that Carolina, they need to replace Luke Kuechly in the center of that defense. They need a star. I think Isaiah Simmons from Clemson can be that. Keep him in the Carolinas, baby. Clemson to Carolina Panthers, and let's see if he can run it.
So the next pick coming up, obviously Arizona Cardinals selecting at number 8. I have this guy Derek Brown down, and I would be a fool to talk about this guy like I know everything about him. I think he might be on Auburn. I actually haven't heard a lot about this guy. He's very high in people's draft projections. I might be a complete moron talking like this because I don't know who he is. Fish, do you have Derek Brown down in your top 10? And can you just explain a little bit about who the hell this guy is?
Yeah, I have Derek Brown going to to the Cardinals. I have him going to the Jaguars with the pick right after. He is good. I don't know much about him. Haven't done too much research, to be completely honest. But from what I've read, he is going to be a good defensive lineman. But in this pick right here, I think the Cardinals got to step up their lineman, get Jedrick Wills, so they can protect their franchise quarterback. Because Kyler Murray, he's going to be something special in the future, and they're going to need a solid offensive lineman to protect him and make sure he doesn't get hurt. And I think Jedrick Wills is going to be the guy for them.
Well, yeah, I think we have a picks flip-flop because I have Jedrick Wills going to the Cleveland Browns. Just going to the next pick, obviously, Jacksonville Jaguars. I personally don't think that they have the answer at quarterback. I think they go Jordan Love, Utah State. This guy – over set in Vegas, I think 22 and a half picks. I think this guy goes a lot earlier than a lot of people think. He's obviously already shot up the draft projections to be that dark horse quarterback who has it all, but also hasn't figured it out. Had a stagnant season 2 years ago. This year, not the same results. So you're taking a big gamble on him there, but I think Jacksonville Jaguars do, in fact, select Jordan Love. Obviously, we're all big sports fans. Did anyone watch Jordan Love this season? I know he wasn't up to the par that we've seen him 2 years ago, but do you guys think he has that potential to be the true dark horse in this year's draft?
Yeah, I think that's an interesting selection at 9. Jordan Love, I think I saw Jordan Love at 19 and a half over under. Listen, he's getting picked before 19. He's getting picked before what you said, 22. What was it, 21 and a half?
22 and a half.
Oh, kill that under. He's getting picked in the top 15. 4 quarterbacks will go in the top 15. I think that with the 8th and 9th picks, the 8th pick We have Arizona. I like Derek Brown. We mentioned that. He's a big D tackle from Auburn, great motor. I think that he's going to have a great career. Arizona needs help on their D-line and their O-line, like Steve mentioned. And number 9, Jacksonville. I don't have them taking quarterback. They like Gardner Minshew. They want to give him a year. I know you're going to laugh. But I think that they want to give him a shot. They traded Foles out of his way. But I think Cam Newton can sign in Jacksonville, actually. But with that being said, I like C.J. Henderson, cornerback from Florida. Stay in Florida and go to Jacksonville to replace Jalen Ramsey on that corner side.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that, but I don't agree with you, Jake, with the quarterback going there. I think Gardner Minshew is the answer for them. He blew them up last year and made the city of Jacksonville so excited for him. Gardner Minshew is their guy. I don't see them going for another quarterback this year because in the past they haven't really had the best success with quarterbacks. So I actually had him Andrew Thomas going here, but then I switched it up after you told me about that stat. So I think not sure who he would go with now. I think they would go with the next best available O lineman.
100%. And last but least, obviously, the Cleveland Browns come in at number 10 overall. Obviously, I said I have Jedrick Willis Jr., as I previously noted earlier. Obviously, as I have Andrew Thomas going much earlier than the analysts think. Steve, it was a very down year for the Cleveland Browns last year, projected to make the playoffs and make some noise in the playoffs. Obviously, that did not happen. Freddie Kitchen, the bazillionth head coach to get fired in Cleveland, things didn't work out the way it should, honestly, with the talent that they have in that roster. Steve, who do you think the Cincinnati, not the Cincinnati, who do you think the Cleveland Browns need to select in this year's draft to be able to propel themselves into a better position come next year?
I think they're going to draft an O-lineman, and that O-lineman is Becton out of Louisville. I see a good upside. He's going to have a good career. They need an offensive line. I don't see anyone else that the Browns need because they have a solid offense. They have OBJ, Jarvis Landry, Nick Chubb, Baker Mayfield. They have all the weapons surrounding them. There's no reason why this team should not be good. And I don't see them adding any more skill positions. I feel like they need to work up front. I low-key think that all they need is better management, better coach, and they'll be a good team. I feel like they could trade this pick, get maybe later on picks, get like multiple picks for this pick here. But I would say get an O-lineman Becton from Louisville.
And obviously, Mike, you're very familiar to mediocre teams as being, a Miami Dolphin fan. What do you think the Browns need to do going to you to become less mediocre or become less horrible and less, agonizing, as I would say?
Yeah, and that's ironic coming from a Raiders fan. That hole was so black they had to bounce to Vegas. But anyway. I think for Cleveland, I love Baker Mayfield as a leader, as a TV personality. He's great. I'm not sold on him as a quarterback yet, but I don't think that Cleveland's going to get their quarterback in this draft anyway. So yeah, they need offensive line help. See if Baker can get going with a good offensive line. So I have them taking Andrew Thomas. A lot of talk about him already. So, I think they take him at 10 and they try to give Baker one more year to work with this core.
Very good. Just getting into, obviously, the draft props, probably why a lot of you guys came here. The degenerates definitely need their urge filled, and we're here definitely to serve that. Obviously, as the draft goes underway, rumors, tweets, information begins to leak, so the odds begin to, disseminate. And obviously, if someone knows something, money gets poured on it, obviously it's going to reverse. So these are just things that I wrote down, earlier in the week before, a lot of these tweets came out, things that I personally think are interesting coming at it from a draft perspective. I know you guys have your own draft props. We'll go over them. Obviously, I'm very keen to critiquing a lot of them. Mike did tell me a lot of stupid shit about his picks. I don't agree with all of them. I don't agree with a lot of them. So we're going to go back and forth a little bit. Just the first one that I selected, obviously being a huge Oakland Raider, or we could now say Las Vegas Raider fan. According to, sources, GM, high execs in the Las Vegas Raiders organization, obviously they're going for a wide receiver. A lot of the fans want them to get a quarterback, but it's not happening because all the money that we just gave Derek Carr. So, it's between CeeDee Lamb and Jerry Jeudy. In my opinion, Jerry Jeudy is the better wide receiver. But it all honestly depends, just like the flip-flop with the 3 and 4, Herbert and Tua. It all depends on what wide receiver the New York Jets select. Many think, CeeDee Lamb's the number 1 overall wide receiver. Many people think that Henry Ruggs III can sneak up there. But in my personal opinion, I think we'll just go Lamb to the New York Jets. And I think Mayock, Gruden in that front organization, they're not going to mess this pick up. They have their guy. I got the Las Vegas Raiders at plus 450 selecting Jerry Jeudy with the 12th overall pick in the draft. So that's my first prop. Steve, what really stood out to you when you're looking at all these crazy props? There's at least thousands of them up there.
Yeah, so I agree with that pick. That kind of my first biggest prop that I had was CeeDee Lamb going to the Jets at plus 350, and then right after there would be Jeudy going to the Raiders at plus 500. I see both those teams going for a receiver. I'm a Jets fan. I know that there's a huge talk of them needing O-linemen, but they've made a lot of moves in this offseason where they've gotten almost like a whole new offensive line. Every single day, and like a couple weeks ago, I kept getting notifications on my phone with them signing a new O-lineman, a center, a guard, a tackle. So I see them making all those moves for them to get a receiver in this draft, and I think that receiver is CeeDee Lamb, and that's my best pick that I would pick is CeeDee Lamb to the Jets at plus 350.
I do, in fact, obviously like that prop. I would love that for the, being an Oakland Raider fan. Mike, what is some insightful props that you've seen on the board that caught your eye?
Yeah, so just looking through some of the props here, I already mentioned it. Jordan Love, I saw him on a 19 and a half. You said 22 and a half. Either way, I'm killing the under. Jordan Love's going to be picked before 19 and a half. I think that's taking candy from a baby. I saw Henry Ruggs at 13 and a half over under. You mentioned Jeudy and Lamb there. Around the 12th pick. I don't see Henry Ruggs going before the 13th pick. I think there's too many good players at the top of this board. There's 2 great receivers in Jeudy and Lamb. Ruggs could be a great receiver. He's a little undersized, but Henry Ruggs over 13 and a half. And lastly, I saw a pretty cool one. Total Georgia players drafted in the first round. I saw the over and under 1.5. You got Andrew Thomas there. We already mentioned him. That's 1. So you just need one more Georgia guy. We got 2 potentially at the back end of the first that can sneak in. DeAndre Swift, the best running back in this draft, in my opinion. And then Isaiah Wilson, another tackle, could sneak in the back end. I think Georgia gets at least 2 first-round picks.
Wow. Well, talking about a family dinner, I'm about to double dip on this one. Andrew Thomas, I already gave my love for him, that guy. 3 days ago, I locked this in my thoughts. I said Andrew Thomas would be going to the Giants, but also on top of the little double dip, 1-2, you go Andrew Thomas top 5. It was at plus 850, I think, earlier in the week, and now it's actually gone down to plus 250. And obviously what that means is between either the Miami Dolphins or let's say the New York Giants who are looking for an offensive tackle, there's some value in there in putting your money, something with a long shot. But obviously there's key information coming out of both these camps that they're looking for an offensive tackle or offensive lineman. And obviously if, like I said, Andrew Thomas is the top offensive lineman in this year's draft, he should have no problem going top 5. Just to throw this point out there, another prop that I thought was very interesting, New England Patriots first drafted player position, quarterback at plus 300. Mike, do you think the Patriots go after a quarterback? You get the field with this one. You don't got to go Tua. You don't got to go Jordan Love. You don't got to guess what quarterback they get. Just if they draft a quarterback, Mike, do you think there's any value in this particular bet?
Yeah, so is that a Patriots first round quarterback or
Patriots first player drafted, so they do have a first round pick. So obviously, it would be their first round pick.
well, the only way – so it's funny you mentioned that. Actually, another prop I saw, quarterbacks in the first round, over under 4. We mentioned the top 3, Burrow, Tua, Herbert. I think Jordan Love is number 4. And I do think that over that prop, over 4, I think 5 quarterbacks get taken in the first round. I think Jalen Hurts. People forgot about Jalen Hurts. He had a great last couple seasons.
The best odds to get him, Mike.
One of the hardest working quarterbacks that I've seen in college in recent memory. He lost his job to Tua, who we mentioned. You know, he goes to Oklahoma, fills in for Baker Mayfield, fills in for Kyler Murray, and he does his thing. I think Bill Belichick is looking at Jalen Hurts at the end of this first, or trade back to the second and get his quarterback. So, yeah, I think Patriots, I think that their first pick could be a quarterback.
Yeah,
I mean, there's definitely a lot of – what were you saying, Steve?
I definitely agree with that. I did a full mock draft, and I ended up having Jordan Love going to the Patriots. I had the Patriots trading up a little bit, trading with Dallas at pick 17. But if, like Mike said before, he had Jordan Love in the 9th spot, if Jordan Love isn't there for the Patriots, I think they're going to go with Jalen Hurts because they need a quarterback, and no matter – they're going to go with the best available quarterback there, and it's going to be Jalen Hurts. They may think that they can get him in the next round, but the Patriots have such a long time till they get their next pick. I think they need to lock in that quarterback and get their next franchise quarterback with Brady gone.
You know, there's a lot of selections, a lot of different variety in this year's NFL draft betting market. But just to come on, I guess, a safe side of things, in my opinion, my lock of this year's draft, very easy pick, but also the odds are very, very low. You know, even, honestly, I think that might be at plus 115 right now. It's the top 3 exact order. So we're going Joe Burrow, Chase Young, and Jeff Okudah, number 3. Plus 115, I think it's the safest one you could probably do. You know, a lot of these are long shots. A lot of these are going to get shortened by the time the draft starts. You know, a lot of those key tweets from Ian Rappaport and Adam Schefter will probably give some hints away. So just in my personal opinion, I think that without a doubt, you know, the news, everything, rumors swirling, I think that those 3 top guys, the order does not change. And that's where I personally think you could find a lot of value in this year's draft. Right. So just to break it up, thank you guys for tuning in. Obviously, we gave you some of our top 10 picks as well as our draft props that we will be personally looking out for. I hope you guys enjoy this draft. Obviously, we're not able to boo Roger Goodell in person. Obviously, we're going to have to, you know, tune in to a virtual new world draft that we've never seen before and probably won't see again. So, you know, take advantage of this. We haven't had sports in a while, so hopefully this will be able to lift your guys' spirits up. Thanks again for tuning in for another episode of the SmackTalk podcast. I'm your host, JR Sports Media, and it's just like that.